I was a college professor for decades, and you could see the transition as technology took over, as kids become young adults and they have so much difficulty interacting with others. It's teaching them a skill that's maybe a lost art.
The other thing that comes from just the nature of a large family, a lot of it's hard to put into words, and a lot of it's just based on the values that they've learned just from what it takes to function as a large family. We have downtime and playtime and people do their own thing, but it really has to have an element of order and discipline and
teamwork,
and integrity, and everyone's in your business all the time. The conversations and learning how to overcome frustrations. There's so many things that come from it that we're continuing to learn.
There are so many skills to be learned. And then you've created this environment. Your children are so successful because they can learn those things in the safety of your family.
Great title for a podcast, Blessings.
Thank you. Yes, I love it.
What a great meditation.
We are here to learn in the spirit of life.
I'm all about believe. You're about spreading blessings. That's great.
What about your blessings? What's the biggest blessing of life?
What a great question.
Because it's the Blessings podcast, I have to ask you, what is your biggest lesson in life?
My biggest lesson in life.
A whole lot of conversations with people about life and how those things manifest as blessings and lessons, and sometimes both.
It's my connection.
You're going to get schooled.
The journey is the journey.
What you and me are searching for are the blessings in this life.
Remember the reality of how sweet people are.
Spread blessings around the world.
You are the most remarkable energy. You make me pause, make me excited, make me think, and make me spontaneously come up with an answer. This is another one of those great moments in time in my life. Thank you for reaching out to ask if I would do the show.
Welcome back to Blessings, everyone. You know that couple, the true life partners that you see putting in the work, raising a family, running a business, not glossing over what it takes to make it work, an authentic couple, but individuals in their own right. People that truly embody the hashtag couple goals. I have such a couple with me today. JD and Cory Emmons run multiple businesses, have a big family, showcase strong values, and show their kids how to be capable and strong and putting themselves at the heart of it all. They prioritize their personal relationship. JD has a mission to inspire fathers and men to strength, fitness, and leadership. And Cory works with the golden doodles that they breed to teach others how to successfully train dogs. And I'm sure teaching a lot of other things in the process. And all the while, they're inspiring others to embody the traits that give people access to thriving and living their best lives. Welcome, JD and Cory, to the show.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, thanks.
All right, I want to start off with something a little unique. So I'm going to ask each of you to say, what is one thing that you admire most about each other? Who wants to go first?
Perseverance. He does not give up. Sometimes that's really annoying, but overall, it's one of his best traits. He does not give up. So that is definitely it. That was easy.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great trait to have. There's a lot of value in that. What about you, JD?
I would say faithful and serving, just very giving of her time, almost to a fault sometimes. But yeah, I don't know, just no agenda.
It sounds to me like you can each count on each other no matter what. Like you're each other's no matter what person.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think everybody needs that, to have that no matter what person.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing. When did you guys meet?
We met our first semester in college 28 years ago. And we got engaged 3 weeks after we met. And then we were married I don't know. I don't even think it was 6 weeks later. Yeah, I was 18, he was 19. We were so immature. We didn't know anything.
So it was your first. That's crazy. Where did you go to school?
University of Central Arkansas.
And so you met, when was it? Early in the semester? Was it the partway through the year?
So we actually both skipped our fall semester, and we both started the spring semester, and I actually became a Christian. And so I was like, okay, now I have no friends and nothing to do. And then I started going to this youth group at the school, and I invited someone who invited him, and he just came along with us. And that first night, we were walking to the youth group on campus, and we were like finishing each other's sentences, and we were like, okay, that was weird. And then we were just like instantly best friends, and we just hung out all the time when we weren't sleeping or in class. And then 3 weeks later, we were both in the car, and we were like, so what are you going to do this summer? And I was going to go somewhere, work at a camp, and he was going to go back home to Texas. And we just looked at each other. We're like, let's get married. and then we thought, okay, no, that's crazy. You have to wait like 24 hours to make those kinds of decisions.
Yeah.
We waited 24 hours, and we're like, okay, let's do it.
Okay. I love stories like that where people just know. What was it that made you know that this was your forever person at 18? Because the odds are way against, that at that age, especially.
Definitely. Yeah. I had like, most of my friends were guys in high school and even in college. And I had these 5 guy friends. And I was like, if I could just blend them all together, that would be the guy for me. Because they all had something I liked, but not everything. And yeah, I don't know. And he was just like, in my view, like one of those days. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think he has all those things. And like, I know it sounds so crazy. How can that? But anyway, I really felt like God was like, this is who you're going to marry. And and at 19, there's not much going for you, but I saw potential. So I'm the visionary.
Oh my gosh, that's right up my alley. I'm really tapped into that kind of inner knowing, the frequency of things. And if you ask for something, you put it out there to the universe, and then you get it, it's almost like, okay, thank you. I see it. And how many times do people ask for something like that or pray for something and they don't see it? Maybe they've been given that thing and they just haven't seen it, but you were open, you recognized it, and then you guys each just acted on it. So what did your parents have to say about that?
Oh yeah, they weren't very excited.
You weren't going for it.
They were like, oh, it's great. Why don't you finish college? And then if you still like each other.
Yep.
But we didn't think
In hindsight, completely understandable.
Yes.
We do not recommend this.
We don't recommend doing it.
Not because it's been bad, just because we just know a lot more now.
Yes.
I think that any 2 people, if they both make that choice, it can work. But unfortunately, especially in today's time, even just 28 years later, like things are so different today. There's so much more coming at you, so many more belief systems, so many more just attack on the family, so much independence. And we weren't around a lot of that. And in a way that was good, in a very good way. But yeah, we were just totally committed. I think that could happen with anybody, but we don't recommend that for our kids by any means.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing to know that your soulmate, you get to be with your soulmate so soon. Like so many people spend their whole lives and maybe they'll meet someone who they find is their soulmate, but later in life. It's pretty rare and special that you guys have that. So I love that for you. I'm happy for you. Was there anything in the way that you were each raised that you think contributes to the success of your relationship, or maybe something you learned not to do?
We both come from divorced homes.
Not super intentional.
Yeah, I really attribute it to our relationship with God. And then also I think one of the biggest things is that we chose, a lot of it really is a decision, and we chose to grow together, because you're going to grow so much over 28 years and even the next 28 years. Like we have so many more things seasons of life that we're going to go through, and we're both going to have to figure out how to mitigate those and figure it out together. But we chose. So when one of us got interested in something, we're like, okay, we might have fought it at first, but we're like, I guess I'm learning about this now. And we just chose to continue going in the same direction. And we cut out distractions from that. Anything that pulled us apart. We just made sure we did everything together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was priority.
The idea of cutting out the distractions is really interesting to me. What kinds of things did you purposely avoid? to make sure you were on the right track and remaining committed? Because that's what throws people off track. They grow as individuals and then they think they've grown apart. They don't have the commitment to the person who they married as the top priority. So what did you avoid?
What always comes to my mind first, and it's a little bit different now, but toxic family couldn't be apart really for a couple reasons. For one, there wasn't really a lot of wisdom or example to learn from anyway. And then everything seemed to be really geared towards just whatever the mainstream world was doing. And at the time, we weren't quite sure which direction we were going, like the direction that we're on now. But we knew that the toxic relationships, it wasn't even titled that at the time. It was just like, we can't be part of that. So we really just separated from that and just focused on learning each other.
And all of our couple friends, like all of our friends were couples that we both got along with. Instead of I have my girlfriends and we go out and do something, and he has his guy friends and goes
we've never done anything separate. The bank accounts, like everything has always been combined, and that's just how we've always done it. And it's interesting, I've thought about this quite often because I've been asked this question, because I teach, or we teach our kids, but I primarily teach the boys like chivalry and things like that, things that you don't really see much anymore. In fact, my son was just talking to me last night. He's 17 and I went to shake these guys' hands at this girl that he's interested in at her school, and they didn't even know how to shake a hand. And I'm like, people aren't taught this stuff. And I wasn't taught this stuff either, but for some reason, there was something in me whenever we first met that was committed, and the best I knew how to be a man to her. And that's just slowly grown. God's just brought different men in my life that have shown me a good example of that. And then I've been able to in turn teach that to my children. But yeah, that's just part of the commitment process, just staying committed. And you can't do that sort of stuff that's so against the grain of normally what we see in society, even then, if toxic relationships are a part of it. You just can't.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think the hardest people to eliminate from your life can be the family, because we tend to think we have to keep them around, even though they're not good for us. It's so hard to do. Is there were there people that you were able to keep in your life that you felt were going to help you?
One thing that helped us to get away from family was he joined the Air Force. So actually, we did. So I stayed in college. I just switched colleges, but he joined the Air Force, which at the time was really good for us. It gave us a lot of stability, and it gave us a weekly paycheck and a house to live in, and some order and structure when we didn't have a clue.
Nothing.
Yeah. And then also, because of joining the Air Force, we moved half a country away. Like we moved a couple thousand miles away or whatever. And so especially for that first year of getting to know each other was also our first year of marriage. And it's pretty rocky when you're like, but you realize how selfish you are. And of course you think it's the other person, but you're both very selfish, and you have to learn, okay, how are we going to make this work? But one of the real blessings was that we didn't have a place to go. We had to work it out, because there was no one I'm going to go talk to my mom, or I'm going to go golf with my dad or my brother or something. We didn't have anybody to go to. So we had to work it out. And that was actually a blessing.
Yeah, it's like the burning the boats thing. In order to make it work, sometimes you have to burn the boats. Yeah. And
then God did bring couples that became amazing mentors in our life.
Yeah, within 5 years, 5 or 6 years, there were
less than that. Yeah.
I guess 3.5, 4.
I think joining the armed forces in some way is a really interesting thing. And it's funny you bring that up, because my daughter unexpectedly just got into a Army program to become a psychologist. So she's in the Army. My daughter just joined the Army. She's 26, and my father is an Army veteran, but it wasn't on my kid's radar. But knowing how much the benefit is to her, she's just, she's getting paid to go to school, and she's doing amazing things. I always say she's the happiest person in the United States Army. She loves it. And it is interesting how it helps you to thrive, to be a part of something like that teaches you self-discipline and that gives you the stability that you need at certain times of your life. Very interesting. I want to ask you officially on the air, how many kids do you have now?
We have 11. Yeah. So
That's
all single
amazing.
birth, they're all biological. And yeah, so they're all about 20 months apart.
Wow. So over 28 years of marriage, you have 11 children. What's the range?
Our oldest just turned 26 this week, and our youngest is 7.
Oh my goodness, that's so nice. What do you love the most about having a big family?
There's always people around. I actually love that. And they always have a buddy. They always have someone to hang out with. It's neat. And we joke with people and say that we planned it this way, but all of our kids come in pairs. So they're all single birth, but they're 2 boys, 2 girls, 2 boys, 2 girls. So it goes all the way to like that.
Wow.
It's fun. Everybody has a buddy.
The youngest, yeah, she just has everyone.
She has me.
Yeah.
Oh, and are there going to be any more? Is there going to be a 12th?
No.
No, that's it. That's it. I really can't have any more. So I just was having some issues. But yeah, but now we have grandkids.
Oh my gosh. That must be so fun to have a 7-year-old and grandchildren.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty incredible. I kind of wish we grow and mature as we get older, hopefully. And thankfully I have. And I really love being around my granddaughters, especially because they're here. I love my grandsons as well. I just get to see them once a week. And so that's fun. But I get to see my granddaughters daily. And they're twins. So that's a little special twist on it. It's cool.
They're they just turned 12 months. And then we have 2 grandsons. 3.5 and 2, and we see them every week.
It's incredible. It's the funnest thing. I wish that, and I think it's possible to enjoy your own children. I was just so young. I had no clue what I was doing, just the weight of responsibility, but it was good. And we have so much more experience now. So like little kids are easy. It's the grown-up ones that all the real life decisions, all the little stuff. Like it's almost comical sometimes when we don't make fun of people that have trouble with young kids, but you wonder, like, how is this hard? It's not hard. It's time consuming, and it definitely eliminates your selfishness. It's not like an easy thing on that level, but it's just fun. Kids are incredible, and that's something that I've truly evolved in. Like, probably sounds funny to my wife and hear me say that, but it's just true. They really are fun. I can't imagine my life without it at all.
Are you the kind of family where you get together once a week for dinner with everyone and it's just like a big party?
Yes.
Okay. I'm so jealous because I always wanted a family like that. I only have one sister and we had a great family, but I always wanted that big family, all the kids. It just seems so much fun. That's really amazing.
It is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like I was telling someone yesterday that it's basically like running a bed and breakfast, except no one pays.
Right.
That's right. Do you have chickens or anything? Like how many eggs do you need to make in the morning?
Oh, so I do get eggs. We used to farm, so we can go into that if you want to. But I do have a lady that farms and has chickens, and she brings me 8 dozen every week. And so they're really good eggs.
It gets us through a couple days.
Yeah.
It's really, I think, cool to have a big family when that's not the trend right now. Although I think it's swinging. I know there are a lot of people that are into homesteading, having a big family. I think that's coming back. And I hope it does, because I think there's so much to be said for that. Right. And the family values thing. So I know that's important to you.
My dad is 83 years young. Every morning, he sends my sister and I and all his grandchildren a good morning message. It's always something uplifting, positive, and encouraging. And it always says, I love you. We all look forward to this, and we know that Granddad won't be around forever. So we really cherish these messages of love and empowerment. My dad loves to say, every day is a new opportunity. And that is what he taught me. That, along with how to work smarter, hold family dear, and go after my dreams. I know there are people out there who go through the motions every day with no one saying good morning, no encouraging word, and to support a positive mindset. And there are others who are doing all the right things, but still need a little nudge to create and maintain positive habits throughout the day. So in my dad's honor, I've created Your Positive Moment. Research clearly shows the benefits of positivity and connection. A recent Gallup poll showed a significant percentage of the world is lonely. Your Positive Moment solves these problems. These are messages that come directly to your phone first thing in the morning, so you can begin every day on a high note. The message includes a loving greeting, an affirmation, a daily reflection, and an easy action step to get you going in the direction of growth and fulfillment and transformation, and to help you stack up good habits. A simple daily message has the power to change your life. Get started with your beneficial morning message habit for free. yourpositivemoment.com.
Why do you think that having good family values is important in today's world? And what do you consider to be the top values in your family?
I think like just friendship and loyalty. I think those are really rare. And it's everything is online. Everyone's friends are online. Sometimes it's hard just to get together with people and have real conversations. And so when you have your siblings, and it's so awesome to watch now, we have 5 that are adults. And so they're having real conversations and they're doing real things. And to see them choose to hang out with each other is so cool. And I've been telling them, I feel like I've been told people that I've been brainwashing my kids forever, but I would tell them when they were little, this is your best friend. These are your best friends. And I would name your best friends are this one. This is who you're going to go on beach trips with in 20 years. This is who your kids are going to play with their kids. So you have to like each other. Yeah. And so I think just friendship and loyalty. And then they become our friends too, as you're the parenting, and then you're like a coach and mentor. And then hopefully that continues, but you also develop a friendship, which is nice.
Yeah. I think the idea that you have intentionally created that, you've incubated that type of amazing, you're each other's no matter what person, and you've created a whole family of people who can count on each other. And I love what you said about the idea that because there are so many children in the family, that they're not alone and they know how to interact socially. That's definitely a problem with kids who come from a smaller family who are always online and they don't know how to interact socially with a person face to face. So it's so true. I used to teach college. I was a college professor for decades, and you could see the transition as technology took over, as kids become young adults and they have so much difficulty interacting with others. It's amazing that you're doing that. And I think it's just something that's teaching them a skill that's maybe a lost art. Hopefully it'll come back.
Yeah. And then the other thing that comes from just the nature of a large family, like a lot of it's hard to put into words until you actually see it play itself out. But just when our boys, they're electrician apprentices right now with a local guy, and the impact that they're making in that world is incredible. And a lot of it's just based on the values that they've learned just from what it takes to function as a large family. We have downtime and playtime and people do their own thing or whatever, but it really has to have an element of order and discipline and
teamwork,
and integrity, and everyone's in your business all the time. Yeah, conversations and learning how to overcome frustrations. There's so many things that come from it that we're continuing to learn, and leadership, just so much.
Yeah. When you start to really think about it, it's very profound. There are so many skills to be learned. And then you've created this environment. Your children are so successful because they can learn those things in the safety of your family. I think that's so commendable. So I wanted to bring up, I know you're very open about it, JD, that you had some struggles with alcohol. And I found this really interesting personally because I also gave up alcohol about over a year ago for health reasons, but I've come to realize so much about the way alcohol was influencing my life and learned a lot about myself in the process. So this is really interesting to me. You talk a lot about it on your Instagram. And by the way, your Instagram music playlist rocks. I'm like, I love all of these songs. I have to remember these songs. Put them
It's
on my
always
own.
so funny to me because I do get a lot of comments about that, but I'm like, these are songs that everyone has access to. Like,
They're the best songs. They're all the songs from, I could tell we're in the same generation, basically. I'm like, oh, all right. I love this. I haven't heard this song in forever. Yes. But you talk a lot about this and your story is on your Instagram. People can go and hear that. But when you quit drinking, what did it make you realize that you didn't see? And what do you think it is that other people don't see about alcohol and how it's affecting their lives?
Try to narrow it down. So what I realized that what I wasn't seeing while I was drinking is that there isn't an end to growth. Like you don't just reach a point. We have this retirement mindset in America, especially, and that's one subject. But the idea that we reach this point and then we can just play for the rest of our life or something, and that we don't have to continue learning or growing. I can't imagine that there's one person that doesn't know of either a firsthand example or I've heard of an example of somebody retiring that was really active and then they sat on the dock to fish and then they not necessarily, but died the next day. Like it's just so much, there's so much life and growth and although I did elements of growth and learning, if I were to compare myself, which is an unhealthy practice, but sometimes we just do it. In fact, I did a lot while I was drinking because it was what fueled me to continue the drinking was like, I'm better than most dads. I'm better than most husbands. I'm doing all the commuting for work and we're getting 2 or 3 businesses going and I've got all these kids and we're being intentional and all this stuff. And you could talk to a degree, but there was a point where anytime we would come together and she's in a growth mindset all the time, if I couldn't persuade her to drink that day or that weekend or whatever, then it was usually some sort of growth or not necessarily business, but family growth, like our future growth, whatever, relationship growth, conversation. And I just had I'm just like, I'm done. I just want to talk about nothing. And so I think once I finally came to the realization that I came to my low point, which wasn't necessarily horrible, maybe looking in from the outside, but it was bad enough for us to where I just had to make that decision finally. And almost immediately, like the change in my attitude towards growth and learning. And I feel like in some regards, I'm a slow learner, so it's frustrating sometimes, but I'm still willing to keep showing up for that. And the fitness stuff is just like a living analogy of just life. And everyone can, whether they do it or not, they can understand the idea of what it takes to go work out. And we have that same application in just life in general. And that's what I was missing out on. So that's the biggest thing that came to my awareness was just that like we're always continuing to grow and continuing to learn. And it's not, oh, I have to do this again. Like it's exciting and fun 98% of the time. Like, sure, it's got its frustrations. Like things aren't just roses all the time, but it's still exciting. And it can be. And when you're masking all of your responsibilities and opportunities to grow and opportunities to learn, then yeah, you just start dying. I don't think there is no stagnant. You're either, and I heard this years ago about a business. We had a business that we just wanted to get to a certain point and just leave it there. It was a skincare company that we had. And I remember a good friend of ours that was really big into sales stuff. And he's like, that's not possible. You can't. You're either growing or you're dying. I was like, yeah, whatever. And it's so true. It's so true in life. We are either growing and learning or we're going backwards because everything else around us is moving. I just heard someone say this the other day. There is no just sitting still. Like you're either going backwards or you're going forwards. Different levels of each direction. But
No, I love that. I believe that too. And I think that if you looked at at us, any of us, under a microscope, you would see we're in motion. We're always in motion. Our cells are in motion all the time. And you're right. And okay, that's a beautiful thing to realize about yourself and about others, because I do think, just to sum up what you said, basically, alcohol stunts your growth. It really does.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't realize it. I'm not trying to be anti-drinking really as too far to the extreme, but I don't drink anymore for a reason. And it's because it's a neurotoxin. It was actually causing neurological problems for me. And I realized, it's funny because I would drink, and I realized somewhere probably, 10, 15 years ago, that when I would drink a glass of wine, I was getting more drunk than I should have gotten for having one glass of wine. It made me feel really drunk. And at the time I just thought, oh, I'm just sensitive. And I realized I was actually having an allergic reaction to the alcohol.
Yeah.
And now I know that because I stopped. And you can't see it until you stop. Like you couldn't see the benefits until you stop. I think it's really interesting. And I don't judge people who are choosing to drink or not to drink, whatever is best for you in your life. But there is something to be said for what you don't know until you. Yeah,
it's so true. And I think, yeah, that's 100%. Yeah, I don't, self-awareness is, I think my biggest mission is for people to be self-aware of their choices. And so for me, when I said persevere, well, I was persevering through, I was on a mission to drink every kind of scotch and bourbon and every night, all the time. In some senses, it's funny, but it was just true. And so it controlled me, and I couldn't not think about it. And that happened over a 9-10 year period. It wasn't like that from the very beginning, but that's what it turned into. And without awareness in that subject, I used to tell her all the time, and my kids, I'm different in this. I don't have a problem with it, because I wasn't drunk most of the time, rarely. But it was just, it became like a very quick into the journey, a daily, and it was what I turned to, and it became earlier and earlier in the day. You justified, and there's so many like I was the best salesman to myself and to my family in that area.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that. And so what was your perception of all this when it was going on, Cory?
I think it was just frustrating. I don't know that I even correlated until afterwards. I didn't correlate that drinking with him not being interested in growth. Maybe because it was for quite a few years when I was really on a growth journey, reading all the books and going to conferences and learning and all the things. And I would be excited, and I'm like, if I can't talk to you, who am I supposed to talk to about all this stuff? And he would just be like, you just like those kind of things. I'm not interested. And so it was, I feel like 5+ years where I felt like I was like dragging. So we did start businesses. We did do stuff.
Yes.
But I was dragging him along, and he was like, fine, you be the thing, and I'll just build your website for you. I'll do this for you. But he wasn't like my team. Like this is such a beautiful picture of being equally yoked. And so a yoke is actually like this bar that they would use. We're so far out of that kind of terminology in our world now, but they would put two similar animals, like two oxen. But if one of the oxen was a little bigger or stronger, or if you had an ox and a donkey, and then they were trying to pull this yoke, it would hurt both of them, not just one. It would actually be injuring their shoulders and stuff on both of them if one was stronger and pulling ahead, or if their stride was different. And so it actually ends up hurting both of the animals. And so that's why it's so important to be equally yoked. And so for that time, I felt like I was just doing the yoke all by myself, dragging him along. Come on, let's do this.
Yeah.
And so I just started thinking, oh, I guess that's just his personality. And I, as a wife, just have to figure out how to deal with it, or we'll just go slower or whatever. And it was frustrating. It was frustrating. But then it just was so amazing that when he decided, I'm not going to do this anymore, that he just naturally started having a growth mindset without trying or me saying anything. And now it's like we're equally yoked again. It's awesome. We can accomplish so much more together.
I can see that. That's really cool. And I think the idea of alcohol or whatever is your thing you're turning to avoid growth, or maybe even subconsciously, but it's just interesting that alcohol causes you to not grow as much as you could.
Yeah.
And I think that's true. It's true. Did you guys notice that your social circle changed when you let alcohol go from your life? Yeah. Yeah. People tend to
that's
fall away,
fine.
right?
And it wasn't because we were preaching to everyone or whatever. It was just our conversations were probably always just a little bit different, just from the nature of our life. But we could go to that place of just talking about nothing or whatever, at least for a couple hours. And not that we always have to be talking about what we're interested in. People in a growth mindset or that are learning are interesting people, right? And we can learn from them. And someone that's just trying to wait till 65 years old or whatever, retire, and just waiting for their whatever it is, like, and just existing, it drains your energy, is what it does. You know, I already have a little more melancholy type personality. Like the last thing I need is more energy draining from me, and no one needs that.
No, it makes sense, because I think one of the biggest things I realized, because I also experienced a change in my social circle, and I now can look back and say, those were never my true friends. They were just drinking buddies.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's it. Is as good at times as you had. It's true.
Yeah.
And there's opportunity for those relationships to be established on another level, but just
only if they want to come along. I think sometimes when you get a redirection like that, it's because it's God, the universe, telling you it's time to aim higher.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And so when you stopped drinking, JD, you also began a fitness journey. And that's what you're very known for on your Instagram. And it's really cool because I love the way you use like tools, like you'll flip tires. That's military. I don't know what that is. It's really cool. And then I saw you doing push-ups on your truck. I see you making things out of pipes that you use to work out. And it's just like an example of how it's accessible to anybody. You don't have to join a fancy gym. You can do this and you can get into great shape and be at your best. And you're probably, how old are you? How old are you guys? So you don't have to say if you don't want, but
47 and
okay.
46.
Yeah, 46.
Yeah, you're in this great healthy place, like in terms of your fitness level, your wellness level, your mindset. And it's like possible for anyone at any time. It's like you say that everyone has a winning formula, and you found your winning formula when you gave up the alcohol. So what do you say about that and the fitness? And what are you trying to inspire other people to do with that?
So fitness, so very specifically, my fitness journey was reignited. I actually originally started my fitness journey and my alcohol journey at the same time. And alcohol won the battle. And I just put fitness on the back burner. But I still had the desire because I had seen results initially. And so I was still hungry for that. I just wasn't hungry enough to do anything about it while I was drinking, nor was I probably even physically capable. You really can't. The facts are facts. But so typically 3:00 was the starting time for drinking. So now 3:00 is typically my designated workout time. That works for my schedule really well, working from home. And it's a good reset for my mind. I'm doing a lot less physical hands-on work these days as far as my actual job. It's a lot more computer desk stuff and background stuff for our businesses. Occasionally I will during the day if I just need to break away and go do. We have plenty of yard work to do all the time on our property. So do that. But I carve out that time daily. I mean, I have my rest days, but even my rest days are probably more than what the average guy does that is not doing anything, obviously. And that's on purpose because blood flow, it energizes me. There's hormone stuff that happens, chemicals that anyone can learn about what it does. And it's true. And when you experience that and feel it, it's just a great thing. It resets your day. So I use cold therapy for that same purpose. And then afternoon workouts. And then like I said earlier, the visuals, they're good visuals for life lessons, perseverance or enduring or showing up or.
And the reason you started the Instagram to start with was more for accountability for yourself. You didn't know it was actually going to go anywhere.
I started this in January or December is when I started this page. I had a personal page that had some local friends on it, but I wanted to start something different that was really just dedicated to me doing this. I actually started a couple, one for cold therapy and one for this fitness. Cold therapy was boring, but it had some similar stuff. It was just all geared towards the cold therapy stuff. And I don't know, just a few posts just took off, and I started seeing that the accountability for me had run its course. I was pretty much so in tune with this new life that I can't imagine doing anything different. People still ask me if I go to AA or do these things, and I'm just like, why do I need to, if I'm there to meet other people that need help, maybe, and maybe everyone at a point says this and then they have their relapse. I don't know, but this is just who I am. Just like I'm married, and no matter what, we're just going to work through things. And so no matter what hard days are there, my answer isn't turning back to alcohol anymore. That's not something I have a desire at all. And so, it went from accountability for me to just seeing that it was encouraging and helping other men and people, men and women, younger and older, reach out to me with their testimonies, reach out for me just for a conversation, whatever. And it's impressive to me that we can have this much influence, positive, on the platforms.
Yeah.
But it's
I think it's true.
It was probably not intended for a great purpose.
Yes, it definitely is. And it's very inspiring. I think it's inspiring to me because everybody wants to be healthy. Even people who are not healthy, they want to be healthy, and they may not want to put in the work. They may not want to put in the level of work that you do, but it actually doesn't take that much. It really doesn't. You use this tool, which I'm going to buy for my partner because he works out a lot. He does a lot with weights. And I love that you use that iron mace. That thing is awesome. I was telling him about that. That is a really cool tool. Those types of tools that are just, you can have them around your house and you can get fit. You can get into shape so that you can be here at your best and help others. Like you say something, I actually wrote this down. You had a quote. You said, we tend to show up for others before we show up for ourselves, but we can't show up for others if we don't show up for ourselves.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's what fitness is.
Yeah.
It's showing up for yourself so you can show up for others.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. So I admire everything that you guys are doing. And I want people to understand just get a perspective. How many businesses do you have? So you're breeding golden doodles, right? Okay.
Yep. And then puppy training. So we have a puppy training course.
Yep.
It's online.
Yeah, an online puppy training course.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we're doing fitness coaching.
Yes. And I love that.
Yeah. And then we also work with a holistic pet food and nutrition company that goes along with the puppy training and the golden doodles.
People can look at what you're doing and raising these 11 kids and still having time for your relationship, still having time for yourselves and become better yourselves in terms of what fitness and mindset work. It's all possible. And I think that's what you illustrate to me more than anything is just you have this amazing life. You work really hard. It's not easy, but it feels good. It looks like it feels good to you because it's just so authentic. And you get to experience success. You get to experience prosperity. You get to experience good relationships and connections and all of those things, joy and love and happiness and generosity that we all want. And you're doing it on your own terms. I love the way you're showing that as an example. What would you say is your biggest advice to somebody who wants to develop that kind of a lifestyle where because you do this from your home, right? So you have freedom. You have a lot of work to do, but you have freedom.
Sure.
What's your advice to someone who might want to start an Instagram or do something like this, something entrepreneurial?
I think the biggest thing that people do that holds them back is they settle. So I think just not settling, everyone's potential is going to look a little bit different. And I've said this before, and I've try to really live by this. We can look at other people's lives as like an example. And there might be a period of time where you mimic some of the things to get in some sort of groove or habit, but it has to be you. It has to be authentically you. And just settling for, I have my 9 to 5, and then like just settling for the normal. If you're passionate about that and you're finding true growth and fulfillment in that, then that's your thing, right? It's not about how many businesses you own or whether you're self-employed or an employee or whatever. It's really about, are you really doing everything that you're capable of doing? And that's going to look a little bit different for each person. And so just not settling.
Well, in different seasons, like there's so many seasons, especially for a woman, but for a dad, if your kids are young, like you make different choices.
Right.
But my advice would be just to start and to not think about it too much. Because if I pause and think, oh, should I make this phone call? And oh, what are they going to say? And I'm going to sound stupid. And I don't know if I can answer all the questions. And then I don't make a call. Right? Or you want to go live on Facebook or Instagram. How many people really go live? Like I just did it today. And so I'm in this like challenge. I'm in a new challenge. And one of the challenges is you have to go live. And so I did. And of course, I'm outside with my dog that I'm training, talking about mushrooms. There's mushrooms popping up all over our forest floor right now. And so I was just on my Facebook Live or Instagram Live talking about mushrooms. And afterwards, and I haven't done it just randomly like that in a while. And so I was really scared just to push the button. I'm like, what the heck am I going to talk about? And afterwards, I sent 3 people messages. And I was like, you know what? I just want to encourage you, just do it. Because how many people are doing it? Not very many. And so you are going to stand out just because you push the button. So my advice is just start. Just do it.
Yeah.
And you're going to look stupid. You are. And then you get better.
This is the moment when, especially when dealing with social media, that you don't have a big audience, so you're only looking young. But on that seasons thing, I did want to touch on that. That sparked a good thing. Like people ask me often, like, how do you? One of the viral videos that I have was just me running, and I was saying that I had 11 kids, and they're like, "Oh, your wife's in the kitchen," and all these derogatory things with all the kids, and you're out running, and I'm like my youngest is 7. We were in the background for 28 years. When we had little kids and that's all we had and everything was just crazy all the time, like I wasn't on, it wasn't even around, but I wasn't doing that. We're in a different season now. Our life is set up with so much more time freedom in pockets of the day that are much different than what normally. Plus, we don't have a bunch of little kids running.
Yeah, people picture like 11 2-year-olds running around my kitchen or something. And no.
Our kids are very self-sufficient for one.
Jobs.
So even though there's a lot going on, like we're just at a season where, as far as the social media stuff goes, plus it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't take a lot of time. Once you get in a groove of the posting and editing, whatever style or thing that someone wants to do, if that's how they want to share their story or put their thing out there, then it doesn't really take a lot of time once you get going. At the beginning, it does. And so you have to know, are you in the right season? Because you don't want to just throw away your marriage that's on the rocks and all your little kids that need you right then, or your job. Like you've got to have your priorities right. But yeah, just starting, don't settle, and then knowing what season you're in.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And that really comes from the self-awareness piece that you're talking about. And I believe that too. Self-awareness is really the magic key to, I think, everything in life.
Yep.
I feel like I could talk to you guys for a lot longer, but I want to get to my final question, which is, what would you say are your biggest lessons and blessings in life? So give me one lesson and one blessing, each of you.
I wish I had something prepared.
Just off the top of your head, what would you say is the most important thing you learned in life?
To smile and to know that life has a lot of seasons. And just because you're going through a season like with 2-year-olds or with whatever, that you're going to come out on the other side and it's going to be new and different. And also, you're not the first person that has gone through this situation. there's people that have gone before us, and you can learn about them from books. You can read books. Like a lot of times you might not know anyone that you can really get help from, but books are amazing, and you can get to know someone and they might not even be alive anymore, but it's books that they wrote and you can learn real good things from them. So yeah, there's so many seasons to life, and don't get trapped in thinking that you're stuck wherever you're at.
Beautiful. Yes. JD, do you have a lesson for us?
Yeah, there's just learning is never ending. It's kind of cliche, but it really is never ending. We don't just reach a point of we're done and we've completed life until you die.
Yeah.
And the more we pursue that living life, I think live life was the first hashtag I ever used 10 years ago on Instagram when I started my Getting Smelly Instagram account. And live life, I used to hashtag that all the time. And I was, again, just the idea that it's a choice. And talked about frequency earlier. I heard Bradley talk about this the other day, just the frequencies that we put out. But when we choose to, no matter what, and that's hard sometimes, like it is, but we're in a season right now, it's really hard. Like we still have a choice no matter what. And so just choosing to live life to the fullest, and learning never stops. And learning is a good thing. Do it on different paces, but the seasons, yeah.
I totally agree. And what would you say is your biggest blessing?
Art.
Yeah.
My kids are the biggest blessing in my absolutely. Yeah.
There's so many amazing things about my wife. She's in a sense the backbone of who I am, or the reason, but the blessings that come from our children, especially as they get older, it's like nothing else. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people miss out on that because children stay in this burden category, which I understand that mindset very clearly. I'm very susceptible to go there, or have been in the past to go there. And that's just selfishness, just being rooted out. But they really are a blessing. I mean, the Bible's very clear about it. It's not just words, it's truth. But you have to choose to see it. And that's pretty incredible.
I love that you're ending with that word choose and choice, because your life and the way you've set it up has all been a choice. And so many of us feel like we're victims of life, but we're really not. We're able to, and that comes from a growth mindset, but we're able to take control. We're able to form our lives and co-create with God and the universe, or whatever we want to say about that. We're here to do that. And you guys have really shown us a beautiful example of how that works and how really amazing it can look and feel. So thank you. And thank you for being here with me today. It's been a great conversation.
It has been.
Hey, everybody still listening, will you go give a 5-star review to this podcast? Mitzi puts in so much effort and so much love into this. She's brilliant. She deserves it. So I am going to go right now. By the way, by the time you hear this and you go give your 5-star review, you should be able to go find my 5-star review of this podcast. But I just want to thank you for what you're doing.